Howdy guys, I am Mifty the Cat, and thank you for coming to listen to my Pecha Kucha on Brazil and the information services you will find. Okay, I'll drop the voice and stop pretending I'm a cat. But we will try to have some fun along the way. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, if we are going to look at Brazil, we need to know where to look. So as you can see in front of you, there's a map of where Brazil is, which is basically on Earth, right in the middle of it, in fact, or around the equator. So probably pretty hot, very big country, fifth biggest in the world, and it's yellow. Okay, so if you were to go to Brazil, you would not discover a whole bunch of people like yourself because there's so many different types of people there. There's white people and then less white and then even less white than that, or black and then more black and then more black than that. There's everything, and this is a great thing. That's why they're all smiling in the photo. Okay, so there's a whole range of people. If you to turn up to Brazil, like you probably won't get this guy meeting you at the airport, but you might. There's basically you've got the natives and the Portuguese and Europeans who migrated there after colonization from the Portuguese in the 1500s. I almost sounded smart for a second, hey? So guys, if you're looking to have some fun or celebrations or meet somebody who you might like or who wants to mug you, then Brazil is got to be the place you got to get to. These are wonderful people. They celebrate religious holidays, huge events. They have different carnivals where people dress up in all the colors of the world. It's brilliant. If you were needing an information center throughout Brazil, there are plenty of towns and regions where you'll find access to such a thing. But naturally, this is not an event that happens all throughout the country, and there are sparse amounts of land without access to information services, which would be good if you got a headache. So if you do find yourself in Brazil, you're going to see tons of cultural events there and cultural exhibits. Now, it's so important for the Brazilians to have a good information network throughout nationally, basically, in order to express their cultural selves to the rest of the world. What? So actually, Brazil's, yeah, it's a developing nation, but they themselves think they can become a superpower. Now they do have like that super Amazon thing there, which is like a great national reserve, which is good. And they've got some mining things as well. So maybe one day they can be up there with Australia. I mean America. Okay, so economically, Brazil aren't actually going too bad. They are gradually improving and at this rate could one day be that superpower. But the problem is, in order to get there, they need to be rich enough to actually purchase information services throughout all of Brazil. And that currently isn't happening as there's a huge discrepancy between access of, I'm running out of time. So economically, Brazil were doing really well before 2012. The economy kind of slid down through the Amazon River. Prior to that, it was doing well. So Brazilians need money to get the poorer nations internet access and the isolated places, Wii's and things like that. Actually, I know the Brazilian Prime Minister didn't kind of believe in the COVID-19 thing, and it sort of backfired. But before that, he understood that libraries were so important for Brazilians, and that this, in fact, was going to enrich the nation and make them wealthy anyway. So he's very smart. So the idea is if you increase information access to all participants of a country, then they will gain in intelligence. This will then succeed in boosting the nation's overall wealth. Because there will be a bunch of sharp cookie Brazilians, and we'll probably get smashed in soccer. So Brazil's got some pretty crazy roads, like it's that place when you're driving and and then you're off the cliff. That's Brazil, but so it's going to be troublesome for some people to actually gain access to information services. If they want to drive there rather than flying off the cliff. So this needs improvement. Yeah, the good news is about Brazil, it's like Harry Potter. It's got trains. You can't go through the wall. You probably could go through the wall. Sometimes there's probably holes in the wall, but there are trains and they're very, very, very good and they get you there on time. There's planes, they get used, and this will get you to your information services. Right. tore that in. You will find information centers throughout Brazil, as you would in Australia, more in Brazil than you would in Australia. You'll also find piranhas in Brazil, and not so much here. We do have alligators. Back to it. I'm out of time. I'm out of time. What a waste! What a waste of a slide. Yes. There are new laws that are being made throughout Brazil. The problem is there seems to be a disconnect between government and people, a lack there of listening. And anyway, that's my serious voice. So basically, what I'm trying to say in 2 seconds is they need to get a whole ton of new laws to make libraries work a lot better in Brazil. You will find a multitude of universities throughout Brazil. One of the criticisms has been, however, that information is not localized, and they're just, giving sort of global or national information, but not specific to certain regions. Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. Okay, so the education system in Brazil is actually quite good. Naturally, there are isolated places that will not have the resources that they do in the big cities, but on a whole, Brazil's government is putting a lot of emphasis on creating the best the best educated kids ever. It wasn't always the case that governments were very responsive to criticism regarding the policies and the laws and whatnot of schools, but current government, God bless his non-corona believing soul, thinks that he's putting in lots of good things that are actually helping the educational system throughout Brazil. Okay, so that brings to my end my Pikachu for the day. I want to thank you for having to listen to me. I certainly hope no one actually listened to this thing. And to summarize, Brazil is going to be a great nation, if not a super nation, and it just needs to rebuild its economy. And I need to stop talking and I run out of time again.